Welcome back to the Flyin podcast. We're here today for our 15th episode. Time's flying by, Sam. We had two big games this past week for FC Cincinnati, a U.S. Open Cup game that, frankly didn't quite end as we wanted, but was a great game, maybe as a neutral fan. And then a great win against NYCFC for the MLS season in one of our match days. So, Sam, how are we doing tonight?
Doing okay. The past week was a roller coaster of a week. Obviously last Wednesday being the game that it was, and then, Sunday, or it was Saturday. I
All
think
good.
Columbus playing on Sunday, like that kind
Sure.
of messed me up. But yeah, Saturday was a little bit more of a take a deep breath. We're still first place in the East by 10 points. So yeah, how are you feeling coming off this past week?
Good and bad, man. That's what I would say. Just based on, like you said, Sunday going into Wednesday, you're amped up for the game. I mean, me and you, we both got there early. We showed up. We wanted to at least see Messi warm up. I mean, just as a fan, like number one, and seeing all of that. But number two, because it was so dang hot outside, we didn't want to do the march, so we kind of wanted to just get in the stadium. So from, I guess, that standpoint of things, we can touch on it real quick. It was cool to see one of the best of all time, up close and personal from that standpoint. But again, like, we're FC Cincinnati fans, and we're here for our team. And that's the main reason why we were there, watching that competition. So we'll kind of dive into it. For the U.S. Open Cup semifinal game, again, we were playing Inter Miami. Sam, I thought we came out with pretty much our strongest lineup that we had available, especially coming off of a tough crew game on that Sunday.
Yeah, I think available is the right word. Obviously, we're still missing Mascara, and I mean, before his injury, Baji has kind of been a bigger piece than Santos was, right? As of recent, but before, like I said, before he was out. So having those two guys out, you know, didn't have as much depth as we would like, but that's been happening for the past couple of weeks, right? So I could agree with you. The lineup was really good. It was a formidable lineup against one of the greatest of all time. So yeah, I thought we started out the game pretty well, right? So you start out with the goal from Lucho. Kind of a fluke goal, if you want to kind of call it, but I mean, he got the job done and finished into the bottom left. Squeaked in there, but I liked how he got there. That's all that mattered to me. It was in the back of the net at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're happy when the ball goes in the net, no matter how it does, especially for your best player, the Argentinian, arguably best number 10 on the field, if you want to say that at the moment. But as Sam was referring to, in the 18th minute, we have a ball that's bouncing up for Aaron Bupenza that heads the ball on. Lucho takes the ball in, kind of gets deflected on a left-footed shot, but it sneaks in. So we're going to take that. And
Yeah.
me and you were pumped, man. I was ready to go. We had talked about it all week, how we wanted to start off quick against them.
Score
That's been
first.
their MO, since this league's cup kind of run for them, is they score early and it kind of puts them on the front foot. So was happy to see that go in, and we kind of rode out the half. We had some decent chances. We had some fairly good possession as well. I think we did a good job at frustrating Messi and company as well. I saw many Sergio Busquets kind of throw his hands up and be like, what the heck is going on, and get frustrated. So that was the way to definitely play them. And in the first half, we kind of showed that, even going into a little bit of the second half. Real quickly, I wanted to touch on the fact, one big point with the goalkeepers. We said we would be confident in having either one. Well, we saw a really good Alec Can, come out and start that match. I think that was one of the bigger things that we wanted to see, is how we would line up with that to start. We'll touch on it a little bit later, maybe on his play, but at least seeing the lineups and kind of touching on that, like I said, in the first half, I was happy to see him out there for another cup competition.
Yeah, I would say it was kind of what we were expecting, right? We were thinking, Celentano stick with the MLS, and we'll have Khan be the kind of the Open Cup, Leagues Cup, kind of the cup guy, right? So Yeah, kind of as expected. Didn't play too bad. This first half he kind of held his own, which was really good. But second half, different story.
Yeah, we can kind of probably move on a little bit into that. I think after we score the goal, like I said, we created some chances, but ultimately it was, we were playing a high line. We weren't allowing them to get behind. We kind of carried that into the second half. Going in with a 1-0 lead, I felt fairly confident with that, pretty good about where the score line stood. But, definitely as an FC Cincinnati fan, you want to see another goal. You want to kind of build on that. And that's what we got early on in the second half. We had a really good build-up play where we swing the ball out wide to Santiago Arias. Arias goes down the right side there, whips the ball into Vasquez. Vasquez takes, I think, maybe one touch and then blasts it, or was it right away? I can't remember if
I
it
thought it was
exactly
right
was.
away.
Might have been. I mean, it was just a laser of a shot into the bottom left corner. Just unbelievable from him. I mean, all those guys had to be playing so amped up. The only one that I felt like that maybe was amped up for a separate reason was Arias. He had played him before. It wasn't necessarily like a shock of playing this big of a player, but more of like, he hasn't really played a ton of minutes recently and wanted to show and prove that he was, raring, ready to go and wasn't intimidated by him. So
early shout out, a little bit of foreshadowing here, but Arias, we didn't pick him for jersey swaps this week, but shout out to him. Definitely deserves a jersey swap. So if we would have had, a third member on this pod today, definitely would have deserved a shout, because he played just as well as I would say Acosta did during this Inter Miami game.
yeah,
Arias brought the heat. He was by far the better player against him and Alba. Just absolutely dominated and kind of gave it to the old Barcelona players, given that Atletico Madrid really like grit defense, which is really cool. And he was tracking back and actually probably stopped a couple goal scoring chances and
right.
build up play that kind of saved us from maybe conceding a little earlier. So that was really great to see from his end for sure.
Yeah, especially like we had touched on, like he was back in Colombia over a Leagues Cup break for a lot of it. Hadn't really played a ton since our last MLS game. Going back to Nashville, not even, Columbus game, we didn't really even see him too much. So, for him to come in and to play that way, that's the old Santiago Arias from Atletico Madrid, from Colombia national team. And that really showed his quality at the highest of levels to me. Like Sam said, I felt like he was probably one of our most underrated players, but probably one of the best during that entire game. Making tackles on, the comeback, whether it's recoveries. I mean, we have our right back and our left back wing backs play up so high. So getting back, making tackles, not being afraid to go in against these guys. He's played at that level before, so he kind of showed that for sure. And then for playing, I was going to say playing 120 minutes and bearing his PK. I mean, just a stellar performance. So good shout out, Sam. I like that as a third jersey swap. We could probably move on a little bit more into the second half. You can take us a little bit into what happened right after we scored, from Vasquez's standpoint.
Yeah. So obviously the next goal of the game would be Inter Miami's goal. So it would be 2-1 at that point, 68th minute. From a beautiful cross from Messi. Just not much you can do with that, to be honest.
Yeah.
This was just like what a ball. Like,
Put it right
and
on his head.
exactly. And it was one of those things where it kind of came out of the blue, to be honest, because FC had a lot of the momentum. I mean, second half it was kind of back and forth, but first half we had a lot of momentum. So maybe the tides were turning here, but we did just score, 15 minutes earlier. So
the big change for them was, I think, Tato Martina, their coach, puts in, 3 subs.
Yeah, right away. Yeah, right after we score. Yeah.
Right away you can see a difference. You bring in Kramaski, I think the young guy. I think Noel Beck or something. I forget his name. Noel Allen, I think his name was. Another guy that they had brought in. Yeah, I mean, all those guys bring the energy right away. And then to Sam's point, kind of out of the blue, I believe Arias gets called for a foul where he supposedly pushes the guy over on that side, which leads to that free kick opportunity. kind of a questionable penalty or foul, if you want to call it there, but unfortunate, definitely unfortunate. So then, we're talking after that goal, it's 2-1. I mean, as everyone always says in soccer, 2-0 is usually the most dangerous score line to have, as being in front. So they get one back, they're kind of building in their confidence. And it's kind of unfortunate, like Sam and I had mentioned, it was such a hot night that night that it really was starting to take a toll on the players, and playing on Sunday, I think, had also kind of played into that as well. So towards the end of the game, you start to see guys go down with cramps. You see guys come out with some knocks. We end up taking Lucho off, at one point, and he's, I think from Pat's standpoint, really trying to preserve, and just try to kind of survive in a way. And I kind of hate that in some ways, but at the same time, I can't say we didn't have chances, Sam. We bring in Kubo, and he has 2 chances right away on, breakthroughs that he's one-on-one with the keeper that he doesn't, finish. And then at one point we have a corner and the ball gets kind of whipped through. It bounces up, hits his hand, which at first, me and you were like, what happened? We thought it was a goal.
Yeah.
But then looking back on it, it seems like it's the right call. But it's not like we didn't have chances, I think, is the bottom line from that standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. In between that first goal for Inter Miami and the second one, we definitely had chances to quote unquote put the game away, right? And it was just unfortunate to see all that momentum that we had, especially towards the end. We had possession.
Right.
Miami kept trying to punch it in, and credit to our subs at that point for kind of holding them off. Unfortunately, they didn't do it the right way.
Yeah. I think that kind of leads into the interesting sub to bring in Gaddis and Powell in the back line and get rid of Murphy.
Yeah.
I mean, I see where he's going with experience there and trying to kill off games, but that's one part of things, but then tell the rest of the players how to kill off a game properly. I mean, my biggest gripe of this whole game was the inability to tell Sergio Santos to go to the corner and waste time. And that for me was the most frustrating thing. And I don't want to dwell on it too much, but I think it's a good coaching moment to teach them. You have a lead, you're in the 90th minute, 90-minute plus, we have a corner at one point, play the ball to your other guy there and kill the game in the corner. Santos has a breakaway. He decides to play the ball across instead of taking it down to the corner right in front of our bench. I mean, to me, that's on coaching. That's on not preparing them on how to kill games off. I get that guys were tired. I get their legs were dead, but if you can't run that fast and get it down there, just boot it down there then, just put it down into the corner for a throw in. So in some ways it's a learning moment, and I hope you really can kind of take this and build on it for playoffs. That would be my big takeaway.
Yeah, I think to your point, the whole, I know we had talked about it on the way back, but the whole scenario of game management, right? And how to, critically and kind of, I guess, strategically time waste, right? And I think they just got scared of the moment a little bit. I think Santos, I mean, to your point, breakaway, right? He's got, who's it, Kubo, I think, on his right.
The middle, yeah.
Yeah, that he's trying to play into the middle, but you could see his hesitation at first. Like, he doesn't want to play the ball, but then I feel like his eyes got big and was like, well, what if we do score?
What if we go score?
Yeah, what if we do score a third goal? Then I'm going to be a hero or something,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think to sit there and watch that last 5 minutes of extra time, like, we had one of the greatest players of all time on the ropes.
Right.
Nobody else in the MLS can say that they were at that point. Like, it was just, we had the game in our hands. Like, it was right there. So it's unfortunate we had to shoot ourselves in the foot a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, let it serve, like, again, we're saying, as a learning moment. That's the biggest thing that I can say now that we've had a few days to kind of look at what happened. But, what ends up happening for those who somehow didn't see what happened, Messi plays an unbelievable ball to Campagna right over Powell's head for another header to tie the game and to, send it in extra time. US Open Cup rule is that you play extra time, 2 15-minute halves. I've never seen a stadium more deflated after that goal. We go into extra time, those 15 minutes, and you could hear a pin drop.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. I mean, everyone was so amped with what was going on, and that was the most deflating moment I think I've ever seen in FC Cincinnati history.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you have the time in between, right? So when the final whistle blew and you're about to, prepare for extra time, like everybody was just dead. Everybody was like kind
Yeah.
of just still in shock. Like,
Barial was literally like having his leg worked on at every moment of the
yeah,
last like
the
10
man, the
minutes
man,
of the
yeah, the
game.
man was on one leg for sure. Yeah, and then, to kind of progress into extra time, that same pin drop feeling happens,
Yeah.
literally just 3 minutes after.
Yeah. The FC Cincinnati killer, Joseph Martinez, strikes.
Yeah.
So they score, they go up, and you're even more deflated. I mean, I felt like there was no hope at that point. You have the
Well,
best of all
who,
time,
yeah,
and
who's going to score for us, right? So it was that
right,
feeling of
right,
like we
right.
don't have anybody to look to at all to
Yeah,
score. Like you can't like point at somebody and be like, yeah, I trust them
right.
at least 50% to score. Like I didn't even have that feeling.
No, I was definitely feeling that way. And to our surprise, in the second part of the extra time there, Kubo plays
What a
an
shot.
unbelievable shot into the corner and we tied up, and then you're elated, and then you feel the vibes again, and you get built up. So again, from a neutral standpoint, unbelievable game.
Oh yeah,
We end up
absolutely.
going to PKs, which can be a crapshoot, like we've talked about before. Um, Biggest thing I want to take away, now we've had a couple of days to kind of dwell on it. We had, a 5-3 end up result for Miami, end up winning the PKs. They did well with their PKs, even with some young guys. They had really good shots. Can do better in goal for the PKs, in my
Yep.
opinion. He's got to be more decisive in where he's picking to go. But don't put Nick Hagelin in that situation. To some other people's points, who else are you going to go to? Obi, go to Angulo, go to, I forget who the last one was. There's another outfield player, don't go to another center back who maybe has never taken a PK in that situation.
Yeah.
And, future glance to the next game, Nick made up for it, and credit to him for that. So Sam, we hardly said a word to each other on the way home. We were so deflated. I was really curious to see how Saturday was going to go in a response, and credit to the boys. We'll kind of transition now over to it. We play NYCFC this past Saturday, and we just come out dominant. I mean, within the first 10 minutes of the game, I mean, even 5 minutes of the game, we just show our quality and that, hey, we're the Shield leaders, and this is how we want to roll. So, Sam, kind of walk me through just real quickly here on a lineup standpoint and maybe the beginning of the game.
Yeah, from a lineup standpoint, it was relatively similar. And I think a guy that absolutely deserved this start was Halsey. We were calling for him to, at least get a start to see what,
Right.
He had in him. Cause for the past couple games, those past three losses, right? He was the guy bringing the energy off the bench for us. Whether we were down or if it was tie game up, didn't matter. He was bringing the energy. And so it was really cool to see him be able to start. I was in the same kind of breath. I was happy to see that we gave Barial some rest based off the last game.
For
I
real.
mean, what you were just saying, the man was walking off the field literally like on one leg. They had to push him up the field during the Inter Miami game just so he wouldn't be a liability in the back
Right.
line. But
Right.
yeah, it was nice to see a little bit of I guess a refreshed look, a
Yeah.
little bit with Halsey in there in the back. But yeah, for the most part, came out firing. Energy was high. I'm so happy that they had this type of game at home, like after that loss at home.
Right.
Like it definitely made up for it for sure.
Yeah. I think that's, you nailed it perfectly. I had put a poll up on Twitter about, Obi goes out this game for yellow card suspension. So I was really curious to see who we play in the middle with Moreno.
Mm-hmm.
And I had three guys that I listed. I had Kubo, Angulo, and Pinto
Yeah.
kind of as the options to see what everyone thought. And the vote was actually higher on Angulo to start.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people had some more confidence in him the way he's been playing lately. And Personally, I thought Kubo was going to come in just because
I
of
also I
experience.
also thought I picked Kubo.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that, the way he played the last game, the way we've seen him kind of historically play this year, Pat's going to go with those guys that he trusts in a bounce back game like that. And Kubo gets the start and plays pretty well. I mean,
Yeah.
pretty serviceable out there. Doesn't do anything flashy, but was diving all over the place, was really making some good plays. So, to kind of progress here, the first couple minutes of the game, we like said, we come out firing, and all of a sudden we have a ball where we're played it out to the width for Halsey. And to Sam's credit for pointing it out, Halsey plays a great ball. I think a shot actually across,
Yeah.
makes the keeper, make a pretty good
Great
save.
save. Yeah, great save.
Finally, we kind of get the reverse of a shot that deflects into a goal.
Yeah.
So keeper makes the save, bounces out, and there's Bupenza to head it in. And
Bang.
then with the back foot, celebration to go with it. I think, was it back flip or front flip? I think it was back flip. I think it was a back
Backflip.
flip. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure it was a back flip.
because he spun around. Yeah.
Yeah, he kind of did a little spin around, but first of many to come. So I'm really pumped to see that. So we get off, on the right foot. I think, like, to your message of, you've played these bad games in a row, let's come out and just show what we got. And I think he kind of had him play a little bit more free. You bring a guy in that's young, that isn't, caught up into a system as much, and just is able to kind of express himself
Just
in
wants to
Halsey.
play.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of what we needed. And we play through to a 1-0, first half. I feel like New York kind of keeps it a little bit interesting in some aspects. And I think you're going to touch on that.
Yeah, they had their chances. I was gonna say I mean, a couple of times there were those little dribblers that went right by the post that,
Yeah.
I was like, Celentano, you got to get at least a finger or something on that. Like that was pretty
Right.
close. So they did have their chances in that first half, but luckily, once again, going to the half back-to-back games with a 1-0 lead.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we capitalize on it in the second half.
Yeah. 52nd minute, we come out, and one of the best workup plays I've seen in a while for us. We
Mm-hmm.
kind of ping it around out wide with Lucho, Moreno, do a little 1-2. We play a through ball. Lucho kind of runs down the side and loses his footing, actually, but is able
Yeah.
to miraculously find Moreno. It doesn't even look like he looked up to see where he's at, but just knows that he's going to be at the PK spot.
So yeah, somebody's there. Yeah.
Unbelievable how he gets a foot on it to play it to him, and Moreno just puts it away. I mean, just a great workup, build up to kind of create a 2-0 scenario that, hey, we were just in this situation before. Let's see what we can do. After that point, I think we can still kind of touch on it too, is that they keep it kind of interesting. There's at one point a ball that's whipped into the box that Celentano's got to make a point blank save on.
Great save. Yeah.
He had another one that I think was fairly, straight on as well. So New York has pretty good depth, even though, James Sands, that was one of the guys you had to look out for at their center mid. He was out this game.
Mm-hmm.
But, we, to our credit, kind of kept the pedal down, and we really showed our quality, even on tired legs with some maybe backups in some positions. We, again, create more chances towards the end. And then, Sam, go ahead and tell me what happens next.
Yeah, and then that next goal, 59th minute, he redeems himself from the previous game. The Cincinnati kid, Nick Hagelin, second best header of the season from him. The first being obviously his own goal. But I mean, once again,
That's funny.
what accuracy, top bins. I mean, definitely you could see the goal meant a lot to him. The goal meant a lot to the fan base.
Yeah.
You look at the crowd during that goal. They wanted that for him. A lot of people, you look at the past week on Twitter, a lot of FCC fans were defending Nick Hagelin, like a lot more than I would have, which is
Right.
good, right?
Yeah.
Would I have been one of those people? Probably not. The mindset that I was in last week, probably not. But
Yeah.
like I said, he made up for it. It was really, it felt good to see him kind of get that goal.
Kind of a funny moment on this, looking at his Instagram, and he's posting his celebration. Did you happen to see what he did after the goal?
Yeah, I did. That was pretty good.
So, he's kind of doing like he's eating the skyline there, but he makes a good kind of comment on the way that you're supposed to eat it. He says to cut it, not swirl it. So kind of interesting point from Nick there on how to eat skyline, but I love it. I'm all there for it. So yeah, we go up 3-0. That kind of kills the game. I think it gives us a little bit more liberty. We end up putting, Valenzuela in there, Dado or Gerardo, which is cool to get some other guys experience too. And we just kill off a game finally. Really that's the biggest thing I took away from it is we found a way without Mosquera to really get a solid win in this as well. So back line, good job. Special shout again to Halsey. That he'd be our honorable jersey swap too. But go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I think another, kind of honorable would be Celentano for this game. I mean, talking about the two kind of saves that stand out to me. Thought he played a great game, right? Showed this was the Celentano that we had been seeing the first half of the season, that goalkeeper that continue to be this throughout his entire career, right? And he showed up, and that's 10 clean sheets on the year for him now. That's double digits, which is pretty cool.
He got to be the most in our history, right? In a single season.
Yeah. Yes.
I think going back to USL as well.
Yeah. So he's playing pretty well. I mean, already 22, 23, and the best goalkeeper we've ever had in our history. Like, I mean, the guy's solid. Yeah, the guy's pretty solid. I
think only trailing the top spot for clean sheets, by one. So pretty cool to see. But yeah, I think that's a great shout. I mean, you get different players like that play great games, that fill in for others that maybe don't play as great of a game. I think, did you have another point to that too?
Well, so I didn't know if we were going to cap this off, but I did want to make another kind of point or factoid on the game itself. But I saw in the recap notes, shout out to the communications department, but the sweep marked the first opponent which FCC has beaten 3 times in a single season, which is really cool.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't realize that one.
Beating up
especially
on FC,
and we hadn't beat them prior to this year.
Yeah.
So that's huge for us in our club.
Big market.
Also, what's that? A big market too, right?
Yeah.
Kind of interesting as well with that. I mean, we tied the home record for points, I think, based on the amount of games that we've played so far too. So just setting records all over the place, as even through this tough period of time, we're still kind of keeping up with it, which is awesome. But looking down at the agenda here, Sam, I'm kind of interested. Let's hear this trivia of the week.
All right. Yeah, it's a little bit of a special one. I was really, really, satisfied with the start that Halsey had, and so this kind of inspired the trivia of the week for us here. But so Brett Halsey became the 73rd different player in FC Cincinnati club history to start an MLS game or an MLS regular season match. How many players have made their first FCC start this year?
MLS season only, correct?
Yes.
This year alone, I'm gonna go with 5.
5. Can you give me 5 players for extra points?
Halsey, Mosquera, Angulo, Arias, and oh man, this is gonna be tough on the last one. I'm trying to think for. I don't know. Maybe I can't think of another one. Who am I blanking on? Maybe I might go 4 then.
You go 4?
Should I lock in? I'll go 4. I'll try. I got 4. That's the 4 I'm gonna lock in.
All right. So we're gonna go with 4 for trivia of the week. We'll kind of answer the trivia of the week here at the end of the episode, but in the meantime, we're gonna take a break for our sponsors here real quick.
So Agility is a technology-driven soccer training facility. So we offer 6 facets of training. That would be Tech Touch with ball launchers that work on your first touch, the TSZ, which is the ESA equipment and working on decision making. We also have a circuit. Circuit training would be taking the ESA equipment to the next level. It's kind of like a soccer obstacle course. Then we offer neuroscience training with our reflection tools. working on processing things a little bit faster, hand-eye coordination and such. We offer skills classes, which is your typical core skills training. Lots of people still enjoy that, so we work on a lot of attacking 1v1 skills. And then we also offer athlete development. So our athletes come here and they work on speed, agility, quickness, explosive movements, really just learning how to move and function a little bit better as an athlete.
Welcome back, everyone. We're here chatting about, I guess, a better part of the second half of the week than the first, Sam. I feel much better about a 3-0 win against NYCFC, but I had a good question for you, but I totally forgot what it was going to be. But anyway, I want to ride the high a little bit. I want to hear what your jersey swap of the week was.
Yeah, let's go right into it. Obviously, we talked about the multitude of shouts that you could have had this week from guys that kind of stood out specifically, in the second game of the week. But I'm going to give my first jersey swap to him this season. But Aaron Bupenza, I think based off of the second game, a little bit in the first, but based off the second game, I think he's really coming into his own. And it feels like it just feels like he's about to break out at any moment. It really does. 1 goal, 1 assist in 2 games. Had the most progressive passes in the NYCFC game, which is really cool. And so in that game, you can kind of see him starting to gel with Acosta and Vasquez a little bit different than what we saw against Columbus, right? So the other thing that's really exciting for me on that is he's starting to get real close to those long distance shots, inching closer and closer, which I'm really, really excited about. So Aaron Bupenza gets my jersey swap of the week.
Good shout. He had a good shot you're referring to. I think after he scored his first goal, he picks the pocket of a guy and puts one just left of the goal. But you're right, dude. He is like so close from just ripping one from outside, and I would love to see it. Against Inter Miami, though, he did have a goal, I believe, that was called as offside.
That is also true.
So that one, he plays it perfectly over the keeper, but just needs to time his run a little bit better. I think you're right. In this game, you see him more involved because he scores early on. So that kind of, creates a better vibe for him and confidence. But some games he gets a little bit frustrated, and I want him to keep his head up. Like, there's going to be opportunities. Him and Lucho need to sit down in a room and just like duke it out or something and figure that out. But I think we're making a little bit too much out of that scenario. I think they're going to get it together. It's just about finding the timing of runs and playing it behind. This kind of ties into my jersey swap. So I'll go ahead and tell you my jersey swap of the week was Lucho. Just had an incredible week, shocker. I mean, how many, has it been now for me to say jersey swap with him? But I mean, plays his idol, scores a goal.
Plays better than his idol.
Plays fantastic in that game, emotional, plays super, super well. I mean, he was dancing on people. And then you go into this next game as the captain after you have this ending, and to get the guys fired up, to, create 2 assists. I mean, just really, really good for him. Now is tied for first in goals plus assists in all of MLS with Thiago Almada from Atlanta. So pretty cool to see that he's doing what he's doing. But what I wanted to shout out about him, man, I just lost my train of thought for that, though, from Bupenza. Oh, getting it together, right? I think I was referring to that as getting them on the same page, though, and understanding what Lucho's doing. What I was going to bring up has one of the best averages for, I guess, through balls that create goals in all of the league. So it's something that he does better than a lot of people. I mean, I don't care what people want to say about Messi's through ball and that one that he scores on. The defense was trash. Lucho's vision, we see him do it on a nightly basis. The dude's playing balls through that no one else sees. So don't give me that he's the best at doing that. Lucho's been doing it all year.
One example would be against NYCFC at their own grounds. You remember that ball to Barreal?
Unreal. Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, but betwixt the wickets.
Right. That's right. I like that. I like that. But yeah, I think like we said though earlier, we had some honorable mentions for jersey swap, and it was really hard to pick because some guys really stepped up this week in moments where, honestly, we really needed it. We needed a big game. And even from, Halsey to step it up as a young guy, that's pretty cool to see. So on the flip side, Sam, what was your card of the week?
Yeah, I mean, card of the week, like we talked about, is a roller coaster of a week. So it's kind of hard to give a card of the week, especially after the result that we just had, where it's very like, well, it evens out. But my card of the week is just Messi's impact that he's had on the MLS. It's not fair. The guy's got 11 goals, 6 assists in 8 games, making MLS defenders look like they play high school or adult men's league soccer. It's just, on the flip side, it's not really a good look for the MLS and all of the defenses out there if they want to look like a top tier league, right? So over the last 3 MLS regular seasons, 9th place teams in each conference have averaged about 43 points. Inter Miami needs 23 points from their final 11 matches to sneak over that 43 point mark. So Messi is going to be missing 3 games here because of the international break. So I don't think that positive, vibe that's with them right now is going to carry them into the playoffs, which to me, that would be not a good look for the MLS. Like I just said,
Yeah,
because
it's a fair point.
It just shows like one player can walk all over your entire league. And before he came in, you were kind of a surging top 6, top 7, league in the world, right, teetering on top 5. So yeah,
is it a starstruck thing for you? Like, is it more of like these guys are better than what they play against him? Like, obviously against us, we didn't back down. I mean, we didn't like necessarily. He created good moments, but I didn't feel like we like gave it to him. You know what I mean? Like I felt like watching the Red Bulls highlight. They let the dude walk into the box like nothing was there.
So there's a lot to touch on with the Red Bulls game and trying to like, hey, come see Messi score goals on us. But I think, to be honest with you, I think it's the MLS culture as it is the past couple of years, to be honest. And that's the signings of and encouraged signings of a lot of number 9s, number 10s, a lot of these, ultra elite wingers rather than, oh my gosh, like look at this defender that we got. Like, to be honest with you, when we signed Miazga, that was a huge deal to us because we got him from Chelsea. Like that's a huge defensive signing. Right. And, it should, honestly, the MLS should have made a bigger deal out of it. Right. But they didn't because he wasn't a number 9. He wasn't
a flashy position,
flashy number 10. Right. So I think that's the problem. It's an MLS problem.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I never really thought about it that way. You don't really get like high markings, I guess, from their standpoint, from like the most shutouts in the league. You get it from the highest goal scorer or whatever, but
contributions. Yeah,
for sure. But to your point, I think that's a good shout. And I'm interested to see how the league learns over time. Like, okay, now we've played him once. When we play him again in October, it's like, how do we play him different? Obviously the first time we played and didn't really necessarily back down, but you see it with some of the other teams on how they just kind of let him walk through. Like, it's dreadful defending, which could be a bad look in the moment, but ultimately, like, historically Red Bulls have been like a more of a pressing team, and like they don't give up a ton of goals, but like you're talking about the greatest to ever play. You're talking about him coming in the second half, and the guys have already played that amount of time, and then you have Messi off the bench fresh, like that. I mean, that's different, but I don't know. You can chalk it up any way you want.
Yeah. What was your card of the week?
My card of the week was actually going to be, it was going to touch on a little bit about how Red Bulls, finally filled up their stadium. Like, come on, guys. Like, it took that to do it. Like, you're in a huge market. But the more and more I thought about it, that would be part of mine. But I'm sick of the fact that Pat Noonan has not been coach of the week. Like we lost, these games in a row and had a 3-0 dominant win at home, top of the Supporters Shield, and Inter Miami's coach, wins away at Red Bulls and gets coach of the week, and he's only been in the MLS season for 1 week. Come on, Pat has been leading us all year and hasn't gotten one. I mean, is it they expect us to win, and then he gets his accolades later? Like, Pat doesn't care. He doesn't care, but I care. I mean, I want him to get, what he deserves. I mean, just for them to come back and bounce back like they did without a couple of huge players as well, and to get him motivated to do that, that's a credit to him, unbelievable.
Yeah, I think it's an absolute disrespect. And I think his players should be kind of talking like, hey, like, this guy is leading us. Like, he's our guy. Like, he's the guy who's been coaching us, been, kind of taking this team to what it is now and creating the formations that he has to kind of revolutionize not only what we're doing, but kind of like what the MLS has become. Right. Yeah. And so it's been really cool to see the impact that he's had, as this, MLS kind of revolution begins. But yeah, I think it's absolutely ridiculous that Pat hasn't at least once,
not even one time
season. We're breaking records.
Yeah.
Week after week, we've got history books. Like we're in the history books, like already tied for this, first for this, like undefeated during like a whole bunch of records this season. And he has yet to win one. Like, that's a slap in the face, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous, to be honest. And I don't understand how that decision is made. Like, who the heck makes that call?
It's like the same people that make the calls for the Sports Center top 10. You're like, what? Like, what?
What are you watching? Yeah, dude, I'm there with you. And part of that too, what was interesting is I was a little bit critical of him after the Inter Miami game, and feel like it was do justice in that. But like, we go up 2-0 in this next game and they learned from it. And, maybe it's different competition, but you still took something away from it. And I bet you like he doesn't let that scenario happen again. So that's a sign of a good coach, and one that really is motivating his guys after, such a down middle of the week game. You play Sunday, you play Wednesday, you're tired. You have guys that are cramping, that are like, not even like raring to get up for this game because it's a regular season game. And then they come out and they do that. I mean, how does he not even get any look at team of the week all year or all year? I don't understand it.
Nothing. Yeah.
I don't understand it at all. But, we're really happy with how the week ended. We got some important games coming up. Another MLS regular season game on Wednesday. So by the time you're listening, it'll be tonight.
Another double
week. Another 2 games, but Atlanta away on turf, in a kind of hostile environment where, Nashville just lost 4-0. So will be very interesting to see. Everything is kind of pointing towards Mosquera coming back on Saturday, not being available for, the Atlanta game. And I don't really want to push a player coming back from injury to play on turf, to be honest with you.
10 points clear too.
Yeah. I mean, it's away. I want our away record to be better for sure. And we've touched on that all year, but, let's try to get in there and just get a decent result. I personally kind of foresee Barrial to come back into the lineup. Arias will probably, in my opinion, get a break, and he might put Halsey out wide on the right. That might be a thing to look out for.
Yeah, I like that. Any change in the midfield, do you think?
Obi's coming back, so that will be huge. He might go with Angulo in there with Moreno. I don't know if I said that wrong. Obi with Angulo, not Moreno. Yeah. I think he might try to do that, or there was rumor out today that Bupenza did not train as well.
Okay.
So might be interesting to see if he kind of rests, him to get ready for a Saturday home game and maybe put Santos in there, but I don't know how we feel about that. Hopefully we're going to be getting some guys
Kubo up there.
Yeah, you could throw Kubo up there too. I think some people had some shouts for him, playing up top, but I just hope we get motivated to play down there. And Atlanta's, like I said, kind of riding a little bit of a high right now. It'll be a good game. I'm really interested to see how that goes. And I guess what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so a little bit of preview on the game. Obviously, last season, both meetings were draws. So fairly even last season. Not how it was in the previous seasons, right? So we were fighting back against them, but yeah, they've definitely had our number. 16 goals in 10 games against FC Cincinnati since we joined the MLS. So definitely have racked up the goals on us. But I think for me, dude, this is going to be awesome. Another battle of the Argentine midfielders. It'll just be fun to watch. The two top guys for MVP this season, both tied at goal contributions. Like, it'll be really cool to kind of see the young gun versus, Acosta. But yeah, the whole I also want to touch on what you touched on to begin kind of the preview, which is the turf.
Yeah.
Right. So actually, Atlanta United, give some background, is one of 5 MLS clubs to play on artificial turf, right? So FC Cincinnati has an awful record on artificial turf, just awful. This season they're 0-3, and then prior to 2023, FC Cincinnati is 1-6-3 when playing on the road on an artificial playing surface.
Wow. We got a tie in Vancouver, if I'm not mistaken, earlier on in the year. Like, at least we got a draw in one of those, but you're right, dude. Our turf record just stinks.
Yeah.
It's really bad. So, I mean, the ball bounces different on that, and that'll be interesting to see, like, how our defenders can kind of adapt to that. The speed of play might be a little bit different with that too. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think this will be a good game though. Atlanta crowd always shows out, obviously, because they have a massive stadium to do so, football stadium to do so.
Football,
but yeah, I'm looking forward to the game on I guess today when the podcast is coming out.
Yeah.
But Orlando on Saturday though at home. The last time out was earlier this season in Orlando. Was another 0-0 draw. I believe I recall you, Zach, and I saying this was probably the most boring game we saw, at that point in the season. It may still stand as one of those. But it's definitely a game that FC Cincinnati should have won. Looking back at that game, we had, I believe, 1.2 expected goals. So to their, I think it was 0.3 or 0.4. So had a couple chances in that game, but it's similar to Atlanta. I think Orlando has kind of had our number. And they've been on fire as far as MLS games go. I know we had the break for Leagues Cup, but they're kind of riding a 3-game MLS win streak right now, with 7 goals in their last 3 MLS games, which is pretty darn good. So I think specifically for the Orlando game, for me, who is FC Cincinnati going to lose early? We've already seen one announced today, or yesterday, if you're listening to the podcast now, being Junior Moreno. So it'll be interesting to see if we lose anybody else. I would assume they would have already announced it if they had. But
is it for the Saturday game that he'll be out?
I believe so, because the international break would be that Sunday or Monday. So I would believe that he would report early, right?
Okay.
So
interesting. Yeah, that might play into, who do we play against Atlanta? And then, how does that transfer over to Orlando then too? But good shout. I mean, yeah, I think he's the only one that I could see. Maybe Yerson Mosquera would have been called up if he was healthy.
If he was healthy, yeah.
That might have been a good shout there. But Orlando is going to be a little treacherous. I think both games have the potential to, go either way. I would be happy, honestly, with a draw and a win in 2 respective games.
Yeah, either one. Pick one, yeah.
Yep. I want to keep winning at home personally and just create the best atmosphere at home that we can. Well,
especially an atmosphere like Atlanta, right? You get a draw in Atlanta, especially an away game as well. So that's the type of environment where you're happy with a point.
I think that Pat might I I don't know if he brings this up or not, Sam. I thought it was interesting. I saw this today, and there was a lot made of the fact that we can clinch a playoff spot with a win outright tomorrow against Atlanta.
That's right. Yeah.
And there's a couple other scenarios where, we draw, Red Bulls lose. I think maybe Charlotte loses or ties or something like that in that order. But I don't know if he kind of uses that as a motivating point for him, but they're shooting for more than that,
Yeah, I was like, just go out and win.
Go out and play, and the way that you guys have been and the results and the standings and the qualifying will come after that.
Yeah.
So I don't think he really kind of touches on that. And I know people are already kind of making a big deal about it. It's pretty early to kind of, clinch that potentially, but let's just take one game at a time and just keep doing what we're doing.
Well, I mean, to your point is what, like, it feels like an expectation, right? So it's like, all right, like we expected to make the playoffs again.
Right.
Great. Let's go win a supporter shield. Let's go win an MLS Cup.
100%. 100%. It's got to be that mindset now that, we're down to 2 potential trophies left. That's the big thing that we've been talking about. We have supporter shield, again, the team that has the most points in the MLS at the end of the season. That's a huge deal for playoff seeding and for who would potentially host the MLS Cup at the end of the playoffs.
Yeah.
We would potentially be able to play every single game at home all the way into, the final game. So, to our point, win as much as you can, draw the games you got to draw. But, I think that we're hopefully kind of steering it back the correct way. Like I had kind of mentioned in the title, bend, but don't break. I think we got tested, and that was good for us, to be honest with you, at this part in the season. And now we know where we stand. We're going to get some guys back and healthy. And I'm ready to kind of gear up for these last several games, Sam.
That might have been the first title, like, shout out, like, in the middle of the podcast that we've done, to be honest with
you. I think so too. Yeah, sneak peek there on what the title is on that, but you're probably already seeing it by the time you clicked on this. So,
or this far in the pod. Yeah,
that's right. Exactly. Sam, I'm interested to see this trivia answer. Go ahead and let us know.
We'll wrap up the pod here at the end. So trivia question to go back to the first half of the podcast. Was really high on Brett Halsey getting his first start. Was the 73rd different player in FC Cincinnati history to start an MLS regular season match. The question was, how many players have made their first FC Cincinnati start this year? Ryan's answer was 5, and then he changed it to 4. The answer was 8.
8. Wow.
8. So you had Halsey, Santos, Arias, Mosquera, Angulo, Pinto, Ordonez, Bupensa.
Wow. Oh, I forgot about those guys too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It very honestly, like when I was looking at the list, you would think that a guy like Ordonez, young, but he's been around a while. You would have thought that he probably would have gotten a start up top, when maybe Brenner was out or Vasquez was out.
Sure.
But yeah, I thought that was definitely, pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's a great stat. And it kind of shows that we've had to play a lot of different guys and been able to get good results out of it too. So,
yeah, well, I think the Santos point, I think Santos started in the playoffs though. He didn't start. He
came in off the bench against Red Bulls to score that goal.
I thought, okay.
Vasquez plays in the cross on that. I think he comes in as a sub.
Gotcha.
Because Brenner started that. But Brenner segue here. A Udinese striker, I believe by the name of Beto. Did I pronounce that correctly? Is being, I think, pursued by Everton right now. So for $30 million. So looks like Brenner has the potential to be one of their starters over there. So kind of cool. Yeah, I think it might pique my interest a little bit into the Italian league. Zach Cross, wherever you're out there listening to this podcast, we know you're out in Italy right now. Go see Brenner, visit him, bring your FC Cincinnati wear and remind him that, we're still following him over here in Cincinnati, but it's going to be kind of cool to kind of follow his season and see where he goes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be a really cool opportunity for him. Obviously left Cincinnati kind of on weird terms,
Right.
but gave us a lot of good memories. So we're just going to obviously push him forward and wish him the best of luck.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that kind of leaves us on a good high, though. I'm ready to go for this week. We had, like we said, 2 big games coming up. By the time we see you guys next week, hopefully we'll have some pretty solid games and hopefully at least 1 win and a tie. I would love 2 wins. That'd be incredible. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think from my standpoint, we'll do score predictions.
Okay.
We forgot to do score predictions, but I know we talked about draw and win and 1. So I'll do Atlanta. We'll go 1-1 draw, and then the flip side in the Orlando game, I'm gonna go 2-0.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say we almost had the same exact prediction. 1-1 Atlanta, 2-1 against Orlando was gonna be my prediction there.
All right.
So stay tuned to next week, guys. Thanks for tuning in again. Follow us again on YouTube, Spotify. We're on TikTok as well. But we got some good content coming out to you guys in the next couple weeks too. So we'll see you next week.